Math 11, Outcome 11.6, Lesson 1, Perfect Squares. Remember that squares of numbers look like this: 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared, and so on. What is a perfect square? A perfect square is any number that can form or can be formed into a square. So for example, 9 is a perfect square because we could take 9 blocks and arrange them 3 by 3 and get a perfect square. 16 is a perfect square because 4 squared, or 4 times 4, is 16. We can make a list of perfect squares by squaring the numbers 1, 2, 3, and so on. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, and we could continue on in this manner. The other way that we can find or make a list of perfect squares is to look at a multiplication table. If we look at a multiplication table, our perfect squares will be found along this diagonal. The reason that perfect squares are found along the diagonal is because that's where squaring our numbers comes from. If we do 2 times 2, we get 4. We can look at 5 times 5, and we end up with the perfect square, 25. Decide if the following numbers are perfect squares and explain your reasoning. Is 144 a perfect square? Yes. How do I know? I can look in the multiplication table and I can find that 12 times 12 is 144. Is 84 a perfect square? No, 84 is not a perfect square. If we look back to that multiplication table, 84 is not found anywhere along that diagonal. Is 45 a perfect square? Again, looking at the diagonal on our multiplication table, 45 will not be there. What about 121? If we look at 121, we will find that yes, it is a perfect square because 11 times 11 is 121. What is a square root? A square root is the inverse operation of a square. So for example, we can write that the square root of 25 is 5. We know that the answer to root 25 is 5 because 5 times 5 is 25. Let's try another one. The square root of 4 is equal to 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of 16 is 4 because 4 times 4 is 16. Please complete Practice 1, Perfect Squares.